Welcome everyone to the 1871 podcast with Johnny Hunt, Dylan Kerr, and me, Mark Roach. And there was no game at the weekend for Reading, but on Saturday we're at home to Leyton Orient in League One. So our special guest is Steve from the Orient Outlook podcast. So hello, Steve, and thanks for joining us.
Hello, gents. Thanks for having me on your wonderful podcast. I love Reading. Went there last season, had a great day. Really enjoyed talking to your fan base. I think it was the game after Port Vale where you had invaded the pitch, and there was still a lot of animosity towards the owner, and we were right behind
It
you on
is.
that day. We've
It
obviously been there,
is.
done that, back you
Yeah.
all the way, and really enjoyed the day last year. Fantastic club.
All right, fantastic. So we'll come to you in a sec, Steve. But before that, I've got an update for you on the Reading FC ownership situation. And that was the update on the Reading FC ownership situation. Nothing seems to have happened. It's gone a bit quiet. I'm going to ask Johnny and Dylan later if we're worried about that or if we just have to be patient and wait. We spoke about that on a recent edition. I think we might just have to be patient and wait, but let's see. So let's start with a look ahead to Saturday's game. And I've got a question for you, Johnny. Can you name a player who's played for Reading and Leyton Orient?
John Mackey.
Well, I was thinking of Joby McAnuff, but
Yeah, Joe McAnuff as well, but he never
Yeah.
replies to our emails, so he doesn't count.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll give you that one. So going to bring in Steve now, and Steve is from the Orient Outlook podcast, and it's fair to say, Steve, that apart from in the cups, it's been a very difficult start to the season for you. 4 wins and 4 defeats in League One so far. So what do you think has gone wrong so far, or is it kind of you knew it was going to be a tough start?
Yeah, I think when you saw the opening 3 fixtures, which were Bolton at home, Charlton away, and Birmingham City at home, you looked at it and just thought that's a tough start. But one we were fairly confident on. I think Richie Wellens has tried to instill a new mentality into Leyton Orient and done quite a good job in it. And I think last season finishing 11th in League One has done wonders for our confidence. And we deserve to be in League One, and we played a few big teams off the park at last season, so went in fairly confident. And I think generally the first 3 performances against those clubs who you would kind of put into the top 8 tier of League One were generally quite good. We only lost all those games by the odd solitary goal, and all those games included an error from our goalkeeper, which led to a goal. So we've got a lad on loan from Middlesbrough called Zach Hemming. He's had a very difficult start to life in League One at Leyton Orient. He gave away a goal at Bolton, which turned out to be the winner. Maybe could have done better against Charlton if you're being hypercritical, and against Birmingham City, a straight back pass from him went straight to their midfielder who popped it into the net. So in all those games, we were never outplayed or outfought. It was we were quite unlucky to lose, and you kind of left those games thinking, well, we gave it our best shot. Birmingham City has spent millions of pounds and don't even have like £1 million. So the differentiation between those clubs is massive. And then we went to Shrewsbury thinking we'd turn them over. We played them towards the end of last season and thinking they'd started the season quite poorly as well. We all kind of went there thinking we'd beat them fairly easily. And long story short, when the full-time whistle went, it was Shrewsbury Town 3, Leyton Orient 0, and we kind of left with our tails between our legs. And Richie Wellens described it as the worst performance of his Leyton Orient regime so far in 2.5 years. We just didn't turn up, sloppy at the back, didn't get into the game whatsoever, and that was after beating Millwall in the Carabao Cup. So, yeah, I think that's brought us down to earth a little bit, and it's a shame this weekend's fixtures or last weekend's fixtures were postponed because I think we needed to get back on that pitch immediately, and would have ended up playing Peterborough, which obviously didn't happen due to the international break. So, in most of the games, we've played some pretty decent football. Have just lost the game due to uncharacteristic errors at the back, and against Shrewsbury, we were just annihilated. So. I was saying on the train home today to a workmate, it wouldn't surprise me if we go to Reading on Saturday and get turned over 3-0. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if we go to Reading and sneak a 2-1 win. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a team when you're at the moment at this point in the season, you don't quite know what Leyton Orient team you're going to get or what team is going to show up, which makes it exciting, but also kind of scary as a fan.
And you came up as League Two champions last season. You sort of going back 5 years, come up from the National League, few seasons in League Two. Do you think it, for most Orient fans, it's mostly about staying up this season, or did you have bigger ambitions than that? And also, what's the mood like at the moment, after what's been a bad start for you in League One?
I think for a fairly small London club, which Leyton Orient are, I wouldn't kind of perceive them as a big club. I think the fan base are fairly ambitious. I think we've won 2 championships in the National League and in League Two in 6 years, and the club are hungry for more. And I think we kind of outperformed expectations last season in League One, finishing 11th with a squad that was ravaged by injury, really. So I think we've gone into this season knowing how difficult League One is, because you just look at the teams in League One, and I don't think League One's ever been more competitive. There's some huge teams in League One, and there's also going to be one or two who take the league by surprise. So I think most fans would have expected to be around the mid-table. I think if you look at the moment, I think it's not quite panic stations, but there is a sense among the fan base that something isn't quite right. We had a bit of a strange January transfer window. We've gone very youth orientated to the point where you look at the pitch and there's not many Orient players over the age of 23, 24 on that pitch. And when things start going wrong, you need that kind of experienced head to get kind of the coolness back into the team. And there's not many around like that at the moment. So we've got 6 loans. I think we've got the joint highest amount of loanees in League One. So we've really gone after the loan market. We've got 2 players from Tottenham who so far haven't really done much, although they've excited us when they signed. We've got Charlie Kelman on loan again from QPR, who we had when we won League Two. He started well and has kind of faded out a little bit. So we've got a really inexperienced team. We haven't played much together and not much experience on the pitch, which has kind of confused the fan base a little bit. So fan base are fairly concerned, but still very confident in Richie Welling's ability. I think we all believe we've got one of the best managers in League One, who one day we believe will manage in the Championship. Not necessarily with Leyton Orient, but I think at some point a club will give him his shot, which he does deserve, I think. So at the moment, fan base is a bit downhearted, but I think we'll travel to Reading well. I think we'll take around 1,500, 2,000 to Reading easily. It's a fairly localish ground, about an hour and a half away. Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff, which is a rarity at the moment in League One, which will be quite nice. So I think we'll travel well in numbers, and I think we'll get behind the team and hopefully galvanise them. But at the moment, yeah, things could be better, but they could be hell of a lot worse.
And Dylan, I'll come to you now. Have you got a question for Steve?
No, it's just interesting to see that 4 games. Okay, the Carabao Cup, 4 games, and he's still feeling positive about the manager. That's quite a rarity, especially. Honestly, it's a rarity, not just in English football, but in African football. You lose your first 3 games. It doesn't matter how good you play, how well you look, how individually your performances are. You're fired. That's how fickle it is here in Africa. But it's actually quite interesting to say, that you now think, it's going to turn. You might get beat 3-0, you might win 2-1, and you think Richie, possibly could be a Championship manager. I think that's I'm not being funny. I think that's a rarity in football that, as a Leyton Orient fan like yourself, and speaking on behalf of other Orient fans, you actually believe in this guy, and I commend that. That's fantastic to hear that.
Yeah, I guess hearing it as a fan of not Leyton Orient, it probably does sound a bit strange, but I guess given the job that he's done in the 2.5 years that he's been at the club, he came into a club who were at the outskirts of League Two, and at one time it was seriously looking like we might drop back into the National League. So I think he deserves time and he deserves respect. He tells it like it is, and he's won, not only League Two with us, he obviously won it with Swindon a couple of years back on a fairly restrained budget. Although Swindon aren't a small club in League Two, or weren't at the time. So yeah, I mean, like Leyton Orient fans, mostly a low fan base, but I guess like anything, if the next 4 games end in the loss, there'll be more pressure on him. But at the moment, I would say the majority of the fan base right behind him and believe that he's the man to turn it around and get results. I think had we lost to teams, I don't know, like Burton or the lower echelon teams, it might be a bit of a different stance. But given we've played Bolton, Charlton, and Birmingham and given them all a game, Richie definitely deserves more time. And I think the board have come in and they've really they're a patient board. They talk about sustainability and continuity. So they're not the kind of board who I think would press the panic button early. I don't think they'd make any changes until they absolutely had to. I think under the circumstances. So I think Richie's got more than enough time to turn it around, and hopefully he does.
And Johnny, come to you now. I don't know if your memory is this good, but I think it was probably last summer when we were talking about who the new Reading manager might be. We mentioned Richie Wellens, didn't we?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. But Joe, but the thing that to me, legacy at a club, like we had Eamon Dolan, you had Justin Edinburgh, as that whole impact on Orient, what he did, and it seemed like Joby McAnuff talks about him. Can you explain what he did for you, and his sudden passing, and as a fan, and he seems to be, like Eamon, one of those people that just total respect.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the fans still sing his name on the terraces, and it was absolute tragic. What happened to Justin? And even speaking about him now, like I feel like the hairs on the back of my neck like stand up as we start talking about him. So he obviously took over in the mid-season when Orient were almost again flirting with relegation from the National League. I mean, it's not like he came into a big club who were already top by a long stretch. He came into a club struggling in the National League in November. And his first game was a 1-0 away defeat to Solihull, and that really kind of brought the reality down. But after that game, we never looked back, and he rebuilt the team and prepared us for the following season. And that following season, we ended up winning the league, albeit on the last day of the season, a really nervy day, but a tremendous day all in all. And he just, what he done for the club, I mean, it was just amazing. His kind of confidence, his personality, he 100% united the club at a time where it wasn't united whatsoever, and he really did turn that ship around at Leyton Orient, and that's why he's so well respected and still loved by the fan base, and he always will be. Like our West Stand is the Justin Edinburgh stand. There's a lot of work still with with Justin's son Charlie, who does a lot of work with the J3 Foundation that Joby McAnuff is really involved in. If you ever see Joby on TV, more often than not, he has a little red badge on his lapel, and that's the J3 Foundation badge that they wear to raise awareness. So yeah, I mean, nothing but the utmost respect for Justin Edinburgh. And I still remember, obviously, running a fan-based media that was fairly close to the club. I remember we got the news slightly earlier than it was let out to the media. When I say slightly earlier, only about 5 minutes, but I remember that on a Saturday evening about 6 p.m. and not being able to like move, and then the outpouring of grief that came from not only Leyton Orient Football Club but the footballing world in general. Where Tottenham Hotspur, next club of Justin's, Newport, Gillingham, all the clubs that were lucky enough to have Justin on the books all came out as well, and the whole community really did come out, and there was a massive tribute, and everyone left their shirts outside the ground. I've never seen anything like it from a Leyton Orient perspective. And I remember I was away on the Saturday and went to the ground on the Sunday, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I burst into tears when I got outside the ground. A 42-year-old, 42-year-old at the time. And I wasn't alone in that. It was just people around looking at each other kind of in a daze. And I think what that really taught you is that football just moves on. No one was waiting around. You still had a season to prepare for, and you've got to give the utmost respect to the board and people like Ross Embleton, who was Justin's number 2 and who took over for that season to kind of carry the club forward, because he'd just won promotion from the National League to League 2. He just started making his signings for our first season in the EFL. He'd been away with Tottenham, because it was Tottenham-Liverpool in the Champions League in Madrid on the Saturday, and then a few days later at his local gym, collapsed on the Monday, and then we all knew he was in a it was going to be a really bad situation, and then unfortunately on the Saturday they announced that he'd lost his life. So it really did turn very, very quickly and very dramatically. It was a crazy, sad, really, really strange time, and his name will always be sung and always be remembered at Orient as it should be.
And Steve, before you jump off, just want to talk a bit more about the JE3 Foundation, Justin Edinburgh 3 Foundation. So as you alluded to there, it was set up by Justin Edinburgh's son Charlie to campaign for more widespread access to defibrillators, because the idea was if there was a defibrillator at the gym when he was training, that would have saved his life. Is the club now, before you go, just kind of talk about the club's involvement, if any, I don't know, in the JE3 Foundation. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean the club is still very closely tied to Justin and Charlie, and do a lot of work with Charlie. Charlie's obviously, does a lot of work with outside of the footballing community as well. It's obviously based around other communities other than football as well. So Charlie does a lot of work, as does his family. There's obviously patrons in the J3 Foundation as well. Joby McAnuff being one, and there are quite a few around. So he still continues to do the work. There's a website that people can go if they want to find out more on. Charlie is widely available. He's on Twitter, does a great job. So is the J3 Foundation. So anyone who wants more info, go and follow the socials. You'll find them on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, where they kind of talk about what they're doing or what the plans are and where you can find them or how you can help. And it's a great cause and something that I hope continues for many, many years to come, as it should do.
Finally, from you, Steve, you mentioned, obviously talked a little bit about the manager and the high regard that he's held in despite the start to the league season. Which of the players are you looking at, do you think, to give the chance of turning things around for the club?
I think we've got quite a good attacking lineup, but I don't think that Richie has found the combination that works yet. I think with only 4 games in, a lot of new faces. Charlie Kelman's looked really good. He's got 2 goals this season. He's got a good goal at home to Bolton and scored in the League Cup. He looks like he's mature. He's stronger. He's broader, harder to get off the ball. Dan Adji, who scored in the away game against Reading, scored a penalty. He's come back after an injury-ravaged season last season. He looks good. Ollie O'Neill on the left wing hasn't had the same impact yet this season, but made his debut at Reading last season and played really well and was really kicked on last season. So there's a player in there somewhere. And we've also signed Jamie Donnelly from Tottenham on loan, who quite a few other bigger League One clubs are after. So he's played a bit. He hasn't really kind of found his form yet or found his feet in League One. But when he does, I think we've got a hell of a player on our hands. So I'm hoping Saturday is the day that Donnelly finally gets his debut League One goal. Fingers crossed.
Well, let's see. Let's, as Reading fans, hopefully not, but not long to wait to find out. Well, Steve, thanks ever so much for joining us, and yeah, we won't wish you good luck as the opposition team, but appreciate you joining us and talking about things from the Orient perspective.
Mark,
No, likewise. Just say to your club, all the best, and the takeover will take however long it takes. You might think that you're there. You might have still a few like near misses or days where you think it's going to happen. It doesn't. Don't lose heart. Don't lose faith. Keep doing what you're doing, and you will make it. Take it from someone who's been there. Just keep doing what you're doing, chaps. All the best. Good luck for the season.
You want to jump in, Dylan?
Yeah, Steve. Before you go, 2 history things about Leyton Orient. I played at Leyton Orient twice. One for Reading, and Paul Holsgrove scored a wonderful frigging volley from the edge of the box from my corner, which was amazing. But the other was I broke my rib. I broke 2 ribs when I played at Leyton Orient, and I cannot, for the life of remember where broke my ribs. I mean, he caught me a peach. And then when I got released by Reading, by Messrs. Quinn and Gooding, I got invited by Steve Coppell on trial, and I made my debut for Crystal Palace. It was a friendly, pre-season friendly against Leyton Orient. We won 4-1, I think it was, and I scored 2 goals. But unfortunately, Dale Gordon was the left back, and
my word, Dale Gordon.
And then they signed Kevin Muscat. Kevin and myself was on trial, but Kevin was a right back, but obviously Dale Gordon was the left back. I was the left back, and that was my. I think I played 4 games for Palace in pre-season as a left back. Scored 4 goals in that time, but unfortunately never worked out. But yeah, that's my 2 memories at playing at against Leyton Orient.
Amazing, great stuff.
All right, Steve. We'll appreciate you joining us. Thanks
Cheers,
a lot.
Steve. Love to see
All
you
the
again.
best. Cheers, guys. Take care. All the best for the season. Bye, guys.
So, thanks to Steve for joining us. Good to hear it from the Orient perspective. And Dylan, you've got another Orient story, haven't you? I think I'm right in saying that actually before Justin Edinburgh got the job there, you applied and you got down to the last 4 or something. Is that right?
Yeah, unfortunately, Justin picked me to the post. Yeah, it's like like I said, Mike, I've just said to you just now. I've got an email from Stranraer asking for an interview on Wednesday. I've just got another message just right now, a WhatsApp message from the chairman. Can I please call him as soon as I can? And I've just said, look, I'm doing a podcast with Reading FC, 1871. I'll give you a call in half an hour. And he went, yeah, fine, no problem. So we'll see what happens there.
Oh, brilliant. Well, we're holding you up from getting a new job. So jump off whenever you like, Dylan.
Yeah.
We don't mind. So,
Shocked that I got a reply.
yeah. So Johnny and Dylan, I think, we're talking about the game at the weekend. So Leyton Orient, 4 defeats from 4 games. And you heard what Steve was saying there about, they're still feeling quite confident, which Dylan, like you say, is quite unusual, really. I think it would be very easy for us as Reading fans to sit here and think, oh, yeah, we should win that game, but it doesn't always go like that. I mean, Charlton, the last game that we played, they won the first 3 games and then we beat them 2-0. Dylan, can you remember any games where you've played for a team who have been kind of the hot favourite going into a game and you've lost, or the other way round, where you played for a team where you weren't expected to win, which is kind of the situation I guess Orient will be in on Saturday coming to Reading. So you weren't expected to win, but you performed on the day and you won the game. Have you got any kind of memories that stand out about those type of games?
Yeah, well, one's when Reading played Barnsley. I'm a big Barnsley fan, and we were flying at the time. And I remember, I think it was Brendan O'Connell was the Barnsley player that everybody fancied and everybody liked. And I think I was made captain for the day of that game. And we lost 3-0. We went into that game. We went into that game.
Who was this for? Leeds?
No, this is for Reading.
For Reading.
Went into that game so confident because we just knew we were never going to get beat, especially by Barnsley. I mean, we beat them away from home 2-0 quite comfortably. So when they came up to Elm Park, it was one of them games where everybody expected us to win, even the supporters expected us to win, and we got turned over 3-0. And yeah, it was all my family are Barnsley fans, so it didn't go down too well. Well, it went down really, really well with all my family. not for us. And then I can think one of the best games that I've ever been involved with was when I played for Kilmarnock against Rangers at Ibrox, where if Rangers had won, they'd have won the league and they've won 10 in a row. And at the moment, it's 9-9. So the chance that Rangers were going to beat Kilmarnock at Ibrox in front of 60,000 fans, we went there not having a chance on earth of winning that game, and we beat them 1-0. And it absolutely destroyed the legacy that Glasgow Rangers would have still been today, 10 in a row champions, which is a big thing, as you know, in Scottish football between Glasgow Rangers and Celtic. So we went there full of confidence, and remember, excuse me, remember Mark Riley, who came to with Tommy Burns when he signed for. If anybody wants to read his book and read the story about what happened with me on that day, it'll be amazing. But that's for another series, another episode.
Well, whatever it is, Dylan, I don't think we'll be surprised.
By the way, it was, believe me, it will shock you, because.
Who was in the Rangers team that day, Dylan? You played against? I have interest.
Aldrup, Ali McCoy, Richard Goff.
Was Gazza in that time, or was that for?
No, That was before Gaza. Trevor Stevens.
Haley?
No, Mark Haley would know. That was after. It was George Alberts. Who was the Colin Hendry? Was the centre back? Dave Robertson was at left back. Alex
Who are you
Clennell.
marked up against? Who are you?
I was up against Brian Laudrup, who
Never heard of him. Rubbish. Sunday league player.
Was the best player I have ever played against. I've played against De Canios. I've played against the likes of Stuart Ripley, right wingers, Andrew Kanchelskis, right wingers. I played in training. He played against David Rocastle, Gordon Strachan, even Gary Speed. God rest his soul. Happy birthday yesterday, 55. It would have been.
That's sad.
So yeah, Brian Laudrup was just probably the best player I've ever played against. The other player was, I can't remember, Tony Rougier. I played
La Rougier.
No. Honestly, we played it when we played Ipswich at home. We got beat 4-0, and Jilksy, my left-sided support mechanism, went missing that day, and Tony Rougier gave me an absolute nightmare. We lost 4-0, and I got dropped the next week and that's when it all kind of went pear-shaped between me, Quinny, and Geordie. Yes, I had a bad game, but to be fair, Jilksy, he went missing that day. Didn't give me any cover, didn't give me any support. But that's football. So yeah. So
Actually, when you're playing against a guy like Kanchelskis, Dylan, as a player, back in those days, obviously probably now you have to analyze everything on video 400 hours. What did you do back in those days when you're playing against these the great players? What did you do as preparation as a player?
Remember, we didn't have analysis there. We had a video recorder. We had a VCR that you would watch highlights of how teams played, and we never sat in front of a screen. We never went through anything. The manager would just say, right, this is how we're going to play. We're going to play 4 at the back, 5 across the middle, 1 up front, and you just had to contain Rangers. If they scored within the first 5 minutes, then the ground would erupt and the fans would get behind them. But if you pissed them off for 15 minutes, then the crowd would turn against them, because obviously they're expecting to beat Kilmarnock by 3, 4, 5, 6 goals. So obviously watching Man United on TV and watching Andrew Kanchelskis, you knew he was quick, and what you didn't have to do was make him give you a one-on-one situation, because you got no chance of living with his pace. Paolo Di Canio, if you didn't kick him within the first 2 minutes of the game, then you knew you were going to in for a torrid. So the first time he got the ball, the first thing you did, you twatted him. You really hit him. And then he lost his head. Then he kind of goes like crazy, and that affects his game. So against different players, you know yourself, what characters they are, what their attitude is going to be. So if you give them opportunities, if you give them space, if you give them time. And I remember my first game against Rangers, Ali McCoist in the tunnel tapped me on the shoulder. And all right, wee man, how you doing? And I went, all right, and it's Ali McCoist. All right, Coisty, I'm great. She said, you see that man behind me? He's going to give you a torrid. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a flight. I'll pay you a flight back down to London, first class, because he's going to give you a nightmare. And I just started laughing at him, and we got beat 2-0, and Laudrup gave me an absolute doing that day. And coming off the pitch after the game, Coisty came up to me and put down and says, I'll get the ticket rep for you and I'll get it in the bar. And I went, all right, cheers, Coisty. So I learned my lesson. The next time we played against Rangers and against Laudrup, I didn't give him an inch. And so you always have, your manager, your coach, they have a way of telling you against different players. And like I said, against when we played Ipswich, you know, me and Chelsea always worked together. This one game, it didn't happen, and I got absolutely hammered. I got absolutely ripped apart by him, and I couldn't live with his pace. I wasn't quick. I could run all day, but I wasn't quick. The quickest left back, Chelsea. And maybe me and Chelsea should have swapped positions.
How quick was Jilksy? And I'll pass back to Mike for the last question. How quick was Jilksy compared to all the other guys that you defended against, like speed wise?
Chelsea was quicker over 20 metres or 20 yards. That's what Chelsea were. Chelsea had this pace. He could turn a game just like that, just with his pace. You know, it wasn't 100 metres, it wasn't 150 metres, it wasn't 70 metres, but over 10, 15, 20 metres, Chelsea could change. And somebody just tweeted earlier on his goal against, I can't remember which game it were, and he played a 1-2. Scotty Taylor actually nutmegged the guy, but Chelsea had left him for dead. He'd left him for dead, and that was the thing with that Chelsea. You know, the beauty of me and Chelsea played, I had to try and catch him, you know, just to overlap him or underlap him. And that's why we got on so well together, because we both were attack minded. And luckily, I had Adi, I had Jeff Hopkins, I had Keith McPherson, and Parky. You know, if we ever got caught in a position to cover for us, so yeah, it worked.
Dylan, just wanted to ask you who do you think was the best Reading player you ever played with?
Oh, Quinny, without doubt. You know, as a striker, you knew that he could score goals. So our job was to provide him with a goal, with a ball, especially in and around the penalty box. You know, Quinny was just Quinny. To be fair, I mean, Mickey Gooding was just. I remember listening to the podcast with Parky. Mickey Gooding was so underrated. I mean, I knew Mickey Gooding from '85 when I went on trial at Rotherham after I'd left Sheffield Wednesday. Geordie just could run all day, but Geordie was just so humble and such a gracious player that he loved a pint of Guinness. He loved a social night out, and he could run. Scotty Taylor, you know, just the most ADH, you know, whatever you want to call him, you know, he was just such a great player to have in your team. Obviously, Chelsea, Archie and Quinny, you know, they complemented each other massively, but then you got the midfield. Everybody, you can't really say one particular player, but obviously, I think we spoke about it a few years ago on the earlier podcast. The day Quinny volleyed Scotty Taylor in the head, you know, and everybody was absolutely horrified with it because he Scotty Taylor deserved it, because you can't nutmeg Quinny and start laughing at him, because of course you're going to get retribution. But you know, I think Mark McGee made the right decision when he called us all in and said, look, here's a scenario, and I think it was Kevin Dillon said, listen, we can't let him go. You know, he's the only one that's going to, you know, get us promoted because he's scoring goals. And it was a good call. And the next day, he actually did apologise to Scotty Taylor. But I said that happens in football. It always happens in football. You know, I've seen worse things happen in football in training sessions. But you know, that particular, it wasn't nice to see. You know, because it was. You can understand why he did it, because, like I said, Scotty Taylor's got, you know, he's all over the place, you know, and he's such a great character. But you know, when you nutmeg Quinny, you shout Megs and start laughing at him. Yeah, you've got to expect the worst.
And Dylan, you mentioned that fantastic partnership. I think Jimmy Quinn got 40 goals, Stuart Love got 25, 65 combined as you went up as champions. But neither of those two got Player of the Year that season, did they? Can you remember, Johnny, who that was that season? Oh, it slips my mind. Oh, there he is. I mean, that must have been for you, Dylan, that season. You know, you won Player of the Season.
Dylan winning.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
did he? God, I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
You
I'll show
didn't
you.
know.
I've got the picture on my phone somewhere, Johnny.
I'm
And
sure you got a tattoo as well, haven't you?
Yeah, the tattoo's forever there.
and that was, you know, that was such a fantastic time to be a Reading player. But look, let's bring it back. We could speak all night about, you know, Reading plays gone by, of course. But I just wanted to mention that, get that one in there for you, Dylan. And Johnny, you learn something new every day. I thought you would know that, but never mind.
I know.
So let's bring it up to speed. Look, I mean, I think the ownership situation, we've talked about the game at the weekend. Obviously, I don't think it's definitely not a foregone conclusion or anything like that. And Dylan's talked about, you know, Kilmarnock going to Rangers when they were on the cusp of 10 in a row, an historic championship there. But just talk about the ownership situation finally. I mean, Dylan, have you been involved in any other clubs that are in this situation that Reading are now, or not?
No, I mean you know, everybody's talking. Everybody were positive a couple of weeks ago. You know that, you know, and apparently it was spotted in Purple Turtle. You know, which was great for all the Reading fans. You know, but
I spoke to him.
something's got something. There must be. There's a story here. There's something that's not happening that the fans don't know. You know, it's. I mean, apparently Nigel Howe, he's been lambasted on social media. You just want clarity. You just want everything to be transparent. You know what's happening. You know, it was this owner, it was that owner. This guy's. You know, is it for publicity? I'm trying to think. Remember Michael Knighton, the ex-Carlisle chairman?
Yeah, Man United.
Yeah.
That went on the field and bought Man United. I can imagine that he must be feeling sick now to try and to buy Man United Football Club for £10 million now. He must be having nightmares every time he gets up, knowing that what could have been. You know, and I was there at that game. I was in the Stretford end that day that he came on the pitch and did the juggling and got the adoration of all the Man United fans. It's just, you know, clarity of what's happening. Why are they not telling the Reading faithful or the football fraternity what is happening at Reading Football Club?
Because it's it's all gone a bit quiet, hasn't it? Really. So that's a concern. I mean, Johnny, are you worried?
No more worried than we've been for the last 455,000 years of Reading's ownership. It's just a mess. I think, you know, I said to you before, you know, I bumped into the new owner at the Charlton game and I had a chat with him because I can. Said hello. He seems to have the right intentions. He's old school. I'm not speaking out of turn. I like the way he thinks about the club. He wants to get run properly like Wickham was when he was an owner. I'm not sharing any secrets or whatever, but we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Di Young, I think personally, this is my personal opinion, he doesn't want to let things go. He keeps moving the goalposts. But the worst part is it's out of our control. Whatever goes on about our football club is nothing we can deal with. You've got owner over there and owner over there, and we're sitting ducks.
Like Dylan says, you know, come back to you now, Dylan. Sorry, I think I interrupted you there.
Yeah, right.
But in terms of the communication, I mean, what do you think? Let's say, Dylan, that everything is going ahead. Do you think there should be more communication? You know, what do you think we need as Reading fans, as a club, over the next few weeks or so? Because we don't know, do we? This could be dragging on. You know, as far as we know, it is Rob Couhig that's coming in, but it's not a done deal. It seems very positive. It seems like it will be him, but we don't know that for sure. So what do you think, Dylan? What do we need as Reading fans over the next few weeks?
It's just knowing, Mark. I mean, just going back to what Johnny says about the chairman. I spoke to Parky 2 days ago, and I said, "Are you happy with everything? How's things going? Loved your podcast. Can't believe you just mentioned me at the end because you thought you better me." And we always have a laugh about it. But they tried to sign the striker from Sheffield Wednesday, and the deal was done. But the chairman at Sheffield Wednesday went from accepting 1 million to wanting 2 million. And once the fees were agreed, it then went up to 3 million. You know, now
Greed, total greed.
yeah, and that's what the chairman. That's why Sheffield Wednesday fans don't want him at the club. You know, now he wants to sell the club. He wants to sell the football club, but he wants to keep the ground. He wants to keep. He wants to still own the ground.
And keep the ego.
What prospective buyer is going to buy a club but not have a stadium? You know, because then he dictates whatever costs it's going to cost the club to do games and price the season tickets for the supporters. So, like I said before, it's all about, you know, having a statement from this prospective new owner to say, listen, we're doing this due diligence. We want to make sure everything's right. The crosses are dotted and I's are crossed, and it's. I know I got that one wrong. The I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Yeah, something like that.
You know, so it's just to let people know, and it's all right giving the fans hope, but when there's no comments from the club, there's no expression from anybody apart from, you know, the Twitterites just wanting to say bad things about Nigel Howe. They actually said a bad thing about Sir John Madejski the other day, which, you know, as a football fan, as a Reading football fan, you probably can agree with it, because he sold it to the Russians that didn't have the money, that, you know, caused all this systematic problems with the football club. I don't think Sir John would have been advised any different to what he was when he sold the club. I think he got tired and he got an offer that he just couldn't refuse. But having that insight as a football fan, you want to know what your football club's what's happening in the football club. You know, for the last, Johnny will probably tell you, it's probably more than 12 months, probably 2 years, 3 years.
12 years.
12 years. Well,
yeah, since John left.
Well,
I'm going to finish off this episode with a message to Rob Couhig. If you're listening, Rob, can you just put out a very subtle message on social media, even if it's just a thumbs up or something? Just give us some hope, because we hope it's you. We're all feeling very positive, but we're a bit concerned that things have gone a bit quiet for the last 2 weeks. So look, going to leave it there, chaps. Thanks for your time. Good to see you. And we've got, I think it's quite a big game coming up. We can't assume that we're going to turn up and win. Of course, it doesn't work like that. But, you know, we're playing against the bottom of the league team. 4 defeats in 4 games, you know, fingers crossed. And hopefully we'll be talking about a win after the weekend. So thanks to both of you. Always good to speak to you. And Dylan, good luck with your job, sir.
No, brilliant.
And go back to them now and say you finished the podcast so you can talk about, you know, being their next manager.
Well, like, listen, it's always good. Listen, sorry I've not been available for the last couple of weeks or last couple of podcasts. Things happen here very, very strangely, you know, and Johnny, I'll just let you know I'm in a very, very healthy and happy place here right now.
Good. I can see that from your giraffes and everything else.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not always you're busy like on business or meetings. It's like because you're on safaris and things like that, isn't it?
Yeah, like I say, you know, I've never done a safari. We saw everything bar a leopard and a lion, because we were so fascinated by this 18 strong herd of elephants that literally walked past our truck and you basically could have just put your arm out and give them a pat. That's how close they were.
And I was that close to Sporty Spice in Leopardstown, mate. That is our life, Dill. That is.
I'd rather have an elephant than Sporty Spice any day of the week.
Well, I can
never liked you.
I can do better than that. I was Reading didn't play at the weekend. I was at a music festival in Surrey called Boogie Town, and I was within a few feet of KC from KC and the Sunshine Band, 73 years old, and brilliant, absolutely
Dylan,
brilliant. Banana Rama as well.
Dylan, you've got these straws you can clutch at.
So, yeah, all right, fair enough. I think Dylan. I'm going to give that one to Dylan.
Oh,
listen,
look at that. It's so bitter.
I met Banana Rama in 1984 in Sheffield, and wow.
Is that why they split up?
Wow, they were absolute. Siobhan was a babe, by the way. But,
they were great. They were really, really good, by the way.
But
anyway,
listen, great to speak to you guys as always.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, Johnny.
Okay, mate.
Speak to you next time.
See ya.
Okay.